Hey guys, it's Jasmine here with our game Pandalism. I just wanted to do kind of one last vlog just to sort of wrap up my design thoughts and our thoughts on kind of the process of creating the game. So this one was a little rough. We wound up talking through and prototyping probably 4 to 6 different concepts and ideas before we finally just started Googling panda puns, came up with Pandalism, and sort of themed one of the mechanics that we'd been working on, which was this programmatic bidding thing that we have going on here. This card actually went through lots of different iterations. It started out as just an order ranking, and then the actions that you take in the game were actually printed on the cards. They were action cards. But then if you got one of those in the first round, it was really hard to deal with. And then sometimes you wouldn't get them in later rounds. So we started tweaking this card so that now you have a built-in action every turn. You can either play art cards or score art cards every turn potentially. You can claim 3. And then actually the reason that this is never mind down here isn't really because you don't want to ignore one, because it's not really a choice. The 5th one will actually never matter. We found that out through gameplay. But we realized that it would be kind of weird to have you play 4 and discard 1, so we kind of added it onto the card down here. Another thing that was a little rough to arrive at was assigning point values to the cards. Initially, each card was just worth 1, and the round ended when you got 3 of them. That person was the winner of the round, and it was best 2 out of 3. But that was a little less interesting than having some points. We also found that people were tending to kind of go for the same thing too much, which kind of promoted collisions. So having the cards have some point values gave some alternative strategies, so you could do other things on your turn if you weren't interested necessarily in kind of playing or scoring with one of these lower value cards. You could potentially go after one of the high point value cards and get something a little bit different, just kind of do something a little different than your opponent. And then the artist's special powers were something that was added pretty late in the game as well. Each of the artists has something different that they do, but they're pretty balanced. One lets you draw, one lets you discard from an opponent, one gives you more points, one lets you not be stolen from. I think if we were to kind of revisit this game in the future, we would add more artist options that had more powers, so that each game would have a different potentially set of artists, and then you could kind of shuffle in the cards. We also thought about doing something fun with the point values here based on the artist powers, but we didn't have enough time to really test anything like that, so we decided to go for what was simple. And I believe we wound up doing 7, 5, 3, so 7 1s, 5 2s, and 3 3s. But potentially, you could have every card of an artist worth 2, you could make them all worth 1, but then at the end of the game, that artist is worth a lot of points. There's a lot of different things you could do there that we kind of talked about, but wound up discarding in the name of last-minute game design. And then in terms of like the actual art and the theme of the game, it was actually grafted on, which is weird and not something that I've ever done before. Most of my games I have a mechanical idea, then I think of a theme idea to go with it, and then the theme really drives the development of the game. And in this case, that really didn't happen. Everything that's happening here is kind of mechanical. Like the artist powers are kind of our nod to the theming, but the game works just as well without them. We just wanted to add these to give some kind of variability, but it's still pretty solid without those choices. Anyway, yeah, we might revisit this one. We might actually take the idea of programmatic bidding and put it in a different project, just because we still think this is really cool, and it's a neat basis for a 2-player game, but it's not necessarily something that we'd necessarily want to do in its own game if we were to come back to this. Like, it's neat and it is very thinky, but it's kind of simple in the way that Lost Cities is simple, and it's something that we personally love, but we know it's not for everybody. And so I think taking something like this mechanic with the programmatic bidding and adding it to something bigger and making it just a piece of a game could potentially be really interesting. I also like the the street art theme. I actually want to maybe take a crack at developing a different type of game, but that has the street art theme, because I think that's so different, and you could do a lot of really cool art with it. So anyway, guys, I have loved this DFW Nerd Night game design contest community. You guys have all been amazing. Thank you so much for watching these videos, and I have enjoyed watching all of yours. Hopefully we will stay in touch and keep this little group going. Bye, guys.